All right, they still don't get it. Democrats still do not get it. Maybe the thick skulls. Whenever you ask voters which issues matters most to the voters, consistently the top three they mention time and time again are the economy, crime, and immigration. And yet, at the latest DNC, Democrat National Convention meeting, filled with rants associated with Trump derangement syndrome, well, they say things like this.
Issues voters care about. Where does Trump go? Migrant crime, carjackings, the really lurid, awful stuff that is a crazy, crazy visual. Don't take the bait, because most Americans are more worried about how are we going to address mental health issues, the visible homelessness that we see on streets, and how do we deal with mental health and other issues that drive the sort of random incidents that scare all of us. That's what you should be talking about. That's where you should be focused. Don't take the bait in talking about migrant crime or carjackings or the things that actually don't matter to that many Americans. And then go to
mental health issues that lead to homelessness. What? She comes from a Democrat think tank, by the way, and she's standing there telling Democrat leaders that Americans don't care about migrant crime and carjackings and gangbanging. That's real. That's not a crappy SNL skit. They really believe that Americans don't care about our own safety. They still don't get it, do they? But they're about to find out. This was the most incredible 4 minutes of television this morning on Morning Joe on NBC or MSNOW or MS just NO. Of course, I won't subject you to all of it, but under the threat of possibility that the president will work to wipe crime off the streets of Chicago, much like he's done for our nation's capital. Joe and Mika had Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson on. By the way, his approval rating is the lowest mayor approval rating in the country. It's at 10%. And I don't know, maybe it's even trickling up into the 12 or 13s. The question to the Chicago mayor was simple. Will having thousands more police help solve crime in Chicago? He was asked that question at least 3 times. His eventual answer is why Democrats should never run anything anywhere ever.
Would you also like to get federal funding to help put 5,000 more cops on the street in Chicago? Would that help drive down crime?
Well, look, policing by itself is not the full strategy.
No, I understand that. You've talked about the other things you want, and I said those are good and important programs, but I'm asking also, would 5,000 more police officers on the street in Chicago be helpful to go along with all of those social programs that a lot of cities are engaging in and having success with?
Well, look, here's the best way I can put it, Joe, is that in the 90s when I was in high school, we had 3,000 more police officers and we had 900 people being murdered every single year in Chicago. It's just not policing alone.
Yeah, sure. Got that, Brandon. But what about more police? How about more police?
You've told me everything else you want. I'm curious, and this does come down to an ideological difference between people. Do you believe that the streets of Chicago would be safer if there were more uniformed police officers on the streets of Chicago?
I believe the city of Chicago and cities across America would be safer if we actually had, affordable housing.
Can you answer the damn question? Answer the question, Brandon. Would it be safer with more police? Don't say it would be safer or better with more housing. Answer the question. So still didn't answer the question on round 2, and then suggest more socialism, which is their answer to everything lately. So should Joe try for round 3?
My question is, and I just need a yes or a no, do you believe the streets of Chicago would be safer if you got all of those other extraordinary programs put back into place, which do have a history of being successful, if that's complemented by having 5,000 more cops on the streets of Chicago?
I don't believe that we should narrow it down to just police officers, Joe, is what I'm saying.
Okay. And that right there says it all, right? Would not answer the question 3 times. Sticks to the Obama memo or the Soros memo, whoever's in charge at any given moment. Democrats believe that socialism solves crime, but policing and punishment, not so much. That's racist, says Brandon.
We cannot incarcerate our way out of violence. We've already tried that.
and we've ended up with the largest prison population in the world. It is racist, it is immoral, it is unholy, and it is not the way to drive violence down.
More police is racist. Got it. How about no police? I guess there would be no racism then, right? No racism at all. No. See what happens to you then. Let's go, Brandon Johnson. Real solutions to crime, like sending in more police and the National Guard somehow is racist to Brandon. Or better yet, that's fascism. That's right. The Democrat Party clearly has their marching orders. It didn't help to call Trump Hitler as he ran for president. Americans weren't buying that. Well, now they're trying to rewrite history, making ridiculous claims and false analogies to the 1930s Germany or Italy.
Essentially, what the president is doing through the Secretary of Defense is creating units, official military units, to, quite frankly, watch the American people. And that's the thing that is absolutely abhorrent. It reminds me so much of what happened in Germany in the 1930s.
I think Donald Trump and Stephen Miller and Trump's handlers thought that he would conduct some kind of Mussolini-style military march across the country.
Because think about what Donald Trump is trying to do here. He is trying to establish police control over major cities. And he started he started with LA, but then he started on Washington. This is what the Nazis did in 1933. One of the first things they did in the spring of 1933 was to take over the state governments and the policing functions of the state government.
Well, actually, Mr. Kellyanne Conway, that's not exactly what happened at all, but they have their marching orders clearly. Trump clearing the streets of crime is both racist and now fascism. That's their messaging, and they're going to stick to it. Except quite inconveniently for them, Americans do not feel that way. Don't take my word for it. Mr. Pritzker?
Why don't you go to the South Side and have that interview so we can really see the streets of Chicago and how things are going on in Chicago? Because for years it's been reported that Chicago has had one of the highest murder rates, okay? Black on black crimes for the party that loves to promote Black Lives Matter.
That's how Americans feel, but more so. Lori Lightfoot was a prior mayor. African Americans were pissed at Lori Lightfoot for what she was doing. Brandon Johnson, you're Lori Lightfoot on steroids, and it's much worse. And your approval rating is about 12%. Those folks aren't talking about mental health. They're worried about the murders and the violent crimes in their neighborhoods. They don't think that affordable housing and more socialism is going to answer to all the crime that's happening in their cities, in their neighborhoods. They're begging for change, and Democrats just don't want to hear it.
The National Guard has to come here, even if it's for a scare tactic. They have to come here. There's no control. There's no law and order.
Oh, Brandon, I'm sorry. Was that person, that African-American person, was he or she racist? Was that a racist comment from them? There's exponentially less crime in D.C. right now, and Democrats can't stand it. They're fighting against it with every bit of power they have left. And you have to ask yourself why. Because they don't want to clean it up, and they don't want to stop crime. The chaos is what works for them. Disorder is how Democrats think they win elections. Soros-funded DAs putting criminals back on the streets, defunding police. Democrats still don't get it, but they're about to find out. Americans are done with Democrats, and they can't cheat their way out of destroying America any longer. But watch, mark my words, they're going to do their damnedest and try anyway.